Hey, hello, beautiful, divine, feminine leaders. This is Nuna Isi Ma here, and I want to speak to you today about reparenting your inner girl or your inner boy if you are a man watching, and how important it is for your journey, for your leadership. And many people think that time heals. And the truth is that time does make things to feel a little bit more gentle, but it does not actually heals. To heal, one needs to step into the healing process. It needs to be voluntarily. It needs to have certain techniques, certain tools and ways so that one can then transform what the inner child has received from parents. Now, for those of you who know my personal story, I have been through a very dysfunctional childhood, and that included abuse and sexual molestation and violence between my parents. And I ended up leaving my mother's home and living with a stepmother. And this is really in a nutshell. And I'm saying that just because in my early 20s, I was a complete mess. And I voluntarily stepped into a healing journey. And what I was amazed to find out in my journey is that each and every one of us has some trauma and some childhood wounding, no matter where we are from the world, where we are born, which lineage we are part of, what part of the world we are coming from. And this is simply because um, we all grew and bred on a dysfunctional society of patriarchal nature, and our parents, bless them, even though they wanted to do the best they could, and I'm sure this is the truth for almost all cases, they did not have the consciousness, the awareness of the impact of what they were saying, how they were behaving, what messages they were conveying to us as children. And of course, they had their unsolved wounds and pains, which got triggered by us children. And this is normal. This is how it is because children do press buttons, and children do want to see their parents grow. And if their parents are willing to grow, then this is a both ways incredible growth opportunity for the souls involved. But if the parents are resistant or they just can't handle it, then unfortunately it becomes a messy relationship. And so it is never too late to reparent your inner child. It is really never too late. But I just want to talk and touch about a few points. First of all, it's important to recognize the impact of the childhood wounds on your life currently, because what has not been resolved, what has not been processed properly and cultivated in a way that we can then gain all the pearls of wisdom and compassion and forgiveness that are really such a depth enhancer in our lives, and really allows us then to come out as these leaders that we all strive to be, whether it's leading ourselves, our children, our families, or leading the world, a movement in the world, or others in the world. We all need to start from that place of integrating ourselves. And what does it mean to integrate ourselves? It means that we walk through the fire of transformation in terms of doing the shadow work. All those places that we still pain in, that we still feel less than, unworthy of, not good enough, or where we're not recognizing our full power. And how do we do that work? Well, there is many ways, there is many modalities. Essentially, I would say that it's easier to do it with somebody trained, because when you do it with somebody and they hold that safe container for you, you have more accountability, you've been held, you're feeling more safe. And it is in relationship that we get hurt. It's also in relationship that we get healed. So I would first and foremost suggest doing this work with somebody, a therapist, a trainer, somebody that can hold that space for you. I do that. I'm not the only one, but this is part of my genius. I know how to hold a safe space, a safe container, so that you can process the pains of the childhood in a way that is a lot less painful than what the mind tend to imagine, because you're not reliving trauma, you actually untangling what is already resides in your body. It's a whole other process. I personally love breath work. For those of you who know me, I'm a breath work vouch. I know what it did for me. I know what it did for my clients and so many people that I watched their transformation in front of my eyes. Miracles happen. It's just one of the modalities that are somatic. In other words, you feel it in the body. It does things that beyond your mind understanding, which is great because you cannot heal through the mind. The mind has created stories. The mind has created fixations. The mind has created all those beliefs, and you cannot shatter all of that through the mind. You have to shatter it through the body, and then the mind adjusts. And breath work is really a way to shatter all of those beliefs through the body with the power of the divine intelligence, right? So the breath is our life force. It's spirit, prana, chi. It has that divine intelligence, and it just does miracles in the body. It's almost like it's brushing it from the inside and resolving pent up, knotted energy residue that got stuck when we experience trauma. Now, I just want to clarify one point, which I find really important to understand, is that trauma, it's not only this one big event that life before and after looks different. Although this is certainly trauma, this is not the only form of trauma. Trauma can be also progressive or developmental or in small increments. So trauma can also be not getting enough attention from one of your parents or both. Trauma can be even, say, in the relationship that you have with one of your siblings that were older than you and maybe abused their power and maybe treated you in a in a violent or even just superior way that hurt you. Trauma can be if you didn't fit into your peer group or you felt an outsider, an outcast. Trauma can be not able to meet the school requirements and always feeling that you are behind. So there's many ways and faces to trauma. It's not just this one event, right? It's just an umbrella word for situations or events that have not been properly processed by our nervous system because they were too overwhelming. And because they haven't been processed, they still live inside our body and they still pretty much determine how we see, how we show up in the world, how we see ourselves and all our relationships, right? All our relationships. If you want to improve your relationship with your significant other, with your children, with your parents, with your friends, it doesn't matter. It all starts from within. Maybe some relationships are toxic and you need to let them go, but essentially relationship that you are here to have, which you cannot divorce from, for instance, your children. You can divorce your parents, by the way. That is okay. If you have toxic parents, divorce is definitely an option, but you cannot divorce your children. They can divorce you, but you can't divorce them because You are the one that created them. So if you want to improve your relationship with them, it all starts from within, from clearing what stands in your way, what is entangled in your being, so that you can let that go and you can start showing up as your authentic goddess like self, right? And for many of us, this is very cloudy because we don't know ourselves so much, because we look at ourselves, or we know ourselves, we meet ourselves from those lenses of wounding and trauma. And so the groundwork to become the amazing leader that you hear to come, and I know that all of you here in the group are meant to be leaders in some way, shape, or form. And to become that leader, you really have to learn to lead yourself. And how do you lead yourself? You first clear what stands in your way. In other words, it's less about learning anything new, it's all about de-learning, unlearning, deprogramming, reprogramming, right? So, just imagine as you arrived here to this world as the most innocent, pure, godlike being, and susceptible to every tone of voice, every eye gaze, every movement, every word that came your way, and you just like a sponge took it on, took it on, took it on. Now, unfortunately, for all of us, no exception, we've been surrounded by unconscious people. They might be good people, they might have the best of intentions and really good heart. They don't mean harm, but they are unconscious, right? Because consciousness and awakening is really only happening recently for the majority of people. And so these people were inflicting pain on you without them meaning to do so. They might be too strict with you as parents because they believe that it will serve you well, but meanwhile they were squashing your free spirit, they were squashing your soul, um, callings, to fit what they believed will be a perfect fit for society. But now we are living in such a mutated, dysfunctional society that, look around. I don't need to really give examples. We can see it all around, that fitting into that, what does it mean? What does it mean that we need to do to be a perfect fit, right? So it's really about, first of all, shining the light of awareness, understanding that we all have childhood trauma, we all have society imprints on who we are that we need to be aware of. We need to look at that from a conscious point of view, and we need to determine whether it serves us or not. And if it's not, how can we let go of it? How can we transform it? How can we, embody who we really are here to do? And this takes some work. This is just how it is. It takes some work. It's very possible to do, and the work is not as painful as one might think it is. It is much more painful to remain stuck in not being able to fully live and express and show up as your authentic self, without the wounds, without the programming that does not serve you, that's been inflicted on you. And this is really the work. This is really the most sacred work one can do, is to start recognizing who you are when you are your God like self, um, being able to recognize your gifts and talents, which for so many of us, they are not very clear. They might be so second nature to us that we overlook them, or we don't see them as our gifts and our genius kind of talents. And so we brush them off, or we not accessing them because we don't think that they worthwhile. And really, it's about connecting to the essence of who you are and clearing that trauma, that residue. And by doing that work, by clearing the trauma, this is where the biggest growth happens. I always like to say that by clearing the trauma, you receive keys, that these keys have the power to unlock your inner doors of greatness. In other words, I'm coming from the belief that everything is perfect the way it is. There is some, we might not understand it from where we are, and especially if we look at the world, we might even more not understand how things are the way they are. But there is some divine perfection. There is some, on a soul level evolution. There is, everything is exactly as it should be, and we have the power because we are also co-creators, and we also have that godlike power to create and manifest. So, we have the capacity and the power to change the trajectory of where life on this planet is going, our own life as well as the collective. Because when one tend to their own life, there is a ripple effect that happens in humanity, right? It's not in a vacuum. If you work on yourself, if you grow in your consciousness, if you uplift your frequency, if you clear your wounding and you become a sovereign being, that has a huge impact not only on people around you but on humanity as a whole. It's like, when you throw a stone to a body of water, say a lake, and that little stone creates those circles of ripples, and they go and go and go, and they literally can that ripple will touch miles and miles away. And that's exactly what happens when you work on yourself. So if you are one of those leaders that really care about what happens in the world and where we are going as humanity, your first and foremost and best contribution will be to work on yourself first. Of course, there are many leadership roles you can take, and this group is all about that and all about growing as a conscious leader. But it all starts from doing the inner work. The inner work is the number one work you should be doing. There is just no other way around it. It's just um, it's inevitable. You have to do it if you want to grow in consciousness, if you want to become a conscious leader. So that inner work is exactly looking at all those gaps where you have not received what you needed from your parents. That's obviously the most primal relationship that you first encounter. It is your mother as the first pillar, the first meeting with the divine feminine energy, and your father, which is the first meeting with the divine masculine energy. And of course, their relationship is your first demonstration of the relationship between the feminine and the masculine. This is what you embody as your inner dynamics. And when you look at what are you missing, what are those gaps, and you start filling those gaps for yourself, that's when major growth happens. That's when you can start reprogramming your inner dynamics, which I like to call the Holy Trinity within, right? So we don't only have the feminine and the masculine, all of us, we also have the inner child. I like to call it the Holy Trinity because this triangle, the feminine, the masculine, and the child, is the inner dynamic that all of us as human beings are dealing in our inner landscape, right? So when you understand that and you understand where are the shortcomings, where are the wounded places, where are the false um, the false teachings that you received from those parents. And of course, if you have not grown up with your mother and father, then the people that took that care role for you were as your mother and father. And if your mother and father were not there, then obviously you already have a wounding around it, right? So so when you understand what you have been missing, and you can start giving it to yourself, you can start activating your inner mother, and you start activating your inner father, and you let your inner mother and your inner father collaborate in their relationship, in their union, so that they can parent your inner child. That's when you level up. That's when you grow to the next level of your evolution. And, I want to tell you that reparenting, it's something that I have done a lot with my life. I didn't only reparent myself, by the way, I also reparented both my siblings when they were teenagers. They both came to stay in my house with me and my husband when they were teenagers. They were very distressed. I'm not going to get into details now, but I had to reparent them. And I can say now that 15, 20 years later, they both thriving, and they both incredible, amazing people. And I have gained a lot of insights what it takes to reparent. And I also have a lot of insights about parenting, as you know, because I've got three most amazing, incredible children. And I say that very proudly, because I do receive a lot of compliments on a daily basis about my children. So I think I've got quite a lot of understanding what does it mean to parent a sovereign, powerful human being. And this is what we all need to do for ourselves now, before we even think about parenting our children, before we even think about maybe parenting our parents, right? This is also something that a lot of us facing. We have parents or one parent that are incapable of being our parent, and they even dependent on us, especially as they grow older. And now we have to become their parents. And so we can only really become parents to others when we understand how to parent our inner child. And our inner child is within us from conception and all the way up to who we are at the moment, right? And this is including baby and toddler and young child and teenager, right? This is all still lives within us. And just for example, how we've been received as we blossomed into our sexual energy in our teenage years has a huge impact on how we perceive ourselves today, right? Were we supported by our parents and caregivers? Did they give us a safe space to explore our blossoming sexuality? Was it suppressed? Was it celebrated? Was it talked about, or was it something that was openly talked about, or was it like under the carpet? So hello, somebody here is watching, and I don't know your name. I just have this Facebook user name, and you say you are a marvel of wisdom. Reparenting our inner child is a crucial part of spiritual evolution and healing. Thank you. That's right. That's exactly what it is. And this is why this is a stepping stone to become a leader and even to become a sovereign person. We really have to attend to those vulnerable, still painful parts of ourselves where we have been neglected or maybe even abused. And it's not a death sentence if we have been abused. And I can tell you that from my own experience, I've been really badly abused, especially by my stepmother, and sexually abused. And I have walked through the fire of transformation. So I am here alive to say it is possible to heal. And I am calling myself today, this is actually the title of my next book that is coming up, I'm calling myself healed, right? So I feel that I've healed that. I'm no longer healing. I'm growing, I'm developing. That is life journey. I never say I've arrived and all enlightened. I think that enlightenment is a process. We are constantly getting enlightened and enlightening. But with healing, I really feel that I have healed. I do not need to do more healing process. Really, honestly, don't. And I know because I just had spent some time with my mother, which I haven't seen for 8 years. Well, more so 11 years. I saw her 8 years ago, just for very briefly. And she came over, and there was so much between us growing up because, well, yeah, I did not grow up with her, and there was a lot of really wounded dynamic there. And I spent some time with her, and I could see how I'm not being triggered anymore. I've came to such an integrated place of compassion and forgiveness that I am really not triggered anymore. And this is so beautiful to watch. And so really the healing work, this is an invitation to do the healing work, because it's vital. We cannot move to the next level of our evolution, as you said here, our spiritual evolution, if we don't do that foundation groundwork. And so I want to invite you, if you feel called, I am doing one-on-one training. I'm only taking 2 people. Okay, I'm gonna open a group training down the line. It's coming, I'm working on it. But at the moment, I'm open to work one-on-one with only 2 brave people that are willing to get into that container of where they are going to shed all those conditionings and wounding and dysfunctional experiences from childhood and beyond, and are ready to step into their sovereign power so that they can lead themselves and others from a place of deep integrity, of deep alignment to the authentic, godlike person they are here to be. So if you feel called, I'm going to leave my link for a chat down below. You can register for a chat, and in that chat, you're already going to receive quite a lot of awareness in terms of where you are and where you need to go. We're going to map out your story. So even if you decide to work with me or not, this call will be of so much value to you. So I invite you to make that booking, and let's get onto a chat and see if we are in alignment to work together. I'm looking forward to meet you. And until the next time we meet, please like the video if you feel that it gave you any value, and smash that like button if you are on YouTube. And if you're listening to the replay, please hashtag replay and let me know what you feel about your journey, where you are currently. Does childhood wounding or society programming still stand in your way, or have you managed to shift that? Where do you find yourself most stuck? Where does it inhibit your growth? In what way? If you are willing to share, please share in the comments below. I would love to read your comments, and I will personally reply to them so that we can create this container of growth and divine feminine leadership. So all my love to you. Until the next time, lots more to come. Ciao for now. Bye.